Hello and welcome to this week's virtual training on hot gloves. My name is Mike Sheehy. Hazards of electricity, electric shock, current running through the body could cause electrocution and burns. Arc flash, burns due to high heat, molten metal, and fire ignition. I'm a little bit more familiar with this one, arc blast, back when we were doing a lot of power supplies. You go to test a power supply, and if things weren't working exactly right, maybe a battery would blow up. Uh, in that arc blast, we'd have very loud noise, big flash of light, which could scare you, laceration, punctures from blast debris, the percussive force from the explosion. There are different classes for the rubber goods that we use. Now, we are only going to use Class 2. Class 2 is tested at 20,000 volts AC and 50,000 volts DC. Now, where the hot gloves were tested up to 20,000 volts AC, they're actually rated at 17,000 volts AC, same as our hard hats. This way, there's a little bit of wiggle room from the test to practical use. All hot gloves are color coded so you can see right away what class of glove that you have. We are using Class 2, so there's always going to be a yellow sticker on there. Our hot gloves are Class 2 Type 1, non-resistant to ozone. We don't need to be resistant to ozone because we don't work where there's a lot of arcing and sparking. So that way the hot gloves don't deteriorate. Our hot gloves are the only product designed to come in continuous contact with energized conductors or equipment. To get the proper fit for your hot gloves, you need a tape measure. Wrap it around your palm and around your knuckles, and you'll get a measurement. Typical measurement is about 10 inches. We do have some George Foreman types that'll go for a 12 or a 13. And then there are some people that'll actually maybe be down to about a 9-inch glove. If you had to wear hot gloves for a long period of time, it would be very uncomfortable, your skin up against the rubber. So it's a good idea to get a glove liner. They help absorb perspiration, they improve the comfort, you feel a little bit better, and it makes the hand a little bit bigger in there so you do get a little bit better dexterity. Now the hot gloves themselves are just made out of rubber, so it'd be pretty easy to poke them, shred them, cut them. So every time we're using the hot glove, we should be using the protective over gloves. These are needed for mechanical protection against abrasion and cuts. To make sure the over gloves are protecting your hot gloves, you need to inspect them. Look for any cuts, tears, open seams, grease or oil, embedded wire or splinters, which can happen a lot if you're working around poles. They should be replaced whenever they're no longer give adequate protection or they become oil soaked. Then you should not use them. When you're not using your hot gloves, they should be stored in the bag that they came in. Keep them in a cool, dark area. They should be in the bag with the fingers up. We don't want to expose the hot gloves to direct rays of the sun, hot forced air. Don't put them on steam pipes or radiators. Don't store them in the same room where there's a lot of electrical testing going on. We don't need to worry about that one. And never store the gloves inside out. They will, deteriorate quicker that way. Then when we fold them back out, they may tend to crack. Now there is a difference between regular field use and that of abuse. You don't ever want to be wearing or storing your gloves inside out. We talked about that. It increases the chance of cracking. Don't use your gloves all day without doing a visual inspection. Inspect both your hot gloves and the protectors. And never store the gloves overnight in petroleum-based products that are on them. You shouldn't use petroleum-based hand lotions. You shouldn't use baby powder. That baby powder gets in between the little, between the rubber, and it starts breaking the connections down. It starts tearing up the rubber. Don't use oil or grease-soaked protectors. And using petroleum-based products to wash rubber products or even your hands. We want to keep any petroleum products far away from these rubber gloves. Don't place anything on top of your gloves when you're storing them. Don't use your protectors as work gloves. Don't use them while you're potholing. Don't use them when you're pulling fiber. And I have seen in some cases where people have the liner gloves, the hot glove itself, and then the protector over gloves. And now the hot gloves are going to stick out beyond the protectors. And I've seen people do this. They'll take electrical tape and they'll wrap it around their protector and the hot glove itself. That tape on that rubber is not good for long-term use. The reason why petroleum products are not good for rubber materials, we're going to lose some mechanical properties. First off, when they're first exposed to the petroleum, they're going to start swelling up. Then they're going to get a little sticky. Then they're going to harden up, and then they're going to lose their elasticity, making it easier for them to crack up. There are commercial products out there that remove petroleum. There's a washing detergent that's a safe alternative cleaner. For your hands, they make out this cleaner called Rub Out. So you want to make sure you clean your Rub Out and clean your hands. Then we also have 10-4 glove dust. It's a substitute for baby powder. Again, inside of those gloves, your hands are going to sweat, get clammy a little bit. Might be nice to have a little bit of that powder in there. Again, don't expose the hot gloves to electrical tape, any kind of hand lotions, grease, or gasoline. To make sure that the hot gloves are going to protect you, you need to inspect them every day. So at the beginning of each day or each job, more often if necessary, you need to give them a careful inspection and do the air test. The one time you are going to turn your gloves inside out is for an inspection. So grasp the cuff, pull it up, turn everything inside out. Now you see there the fingers aren't poking out yet. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to roll up the cuff, and you're going to keep pressing at it and pressing at it until the inflation inside of the glove pops the fingers out. This way we know that we have a good seal. Now to inspect for smaller leaks, we turn our gloves right side out again, and we're going to go through kind of the same operation. We're going to let the air get inside the glove, then we're going to fold up the cuff. And then what we're going to do, we're going to hold that inflated glove close to our face, and we're going to look, listen, and feel. Do we see anything? Do we feel any air hitting us in the face? Do we hear it? So we're looking for tiny holes in these hot gloves. So on the air test, we want to make sure that the glove is firmly closed up from the cuff. Check out different parts of the glove in between the fingers, the fingertips, the webbing, and make sure that no air leaks out. So here we're getting nice and close, looking for cuts, punctures. We don't need to worry about ozone checking or corona cutting. We don't work with a lot of sparking going on. But check for embedded foreign materials, look for oil marks, and make sure that you're not losing any air out of the gloves. You should be doing the air test every day when you're using your gloves, but it's recommended that we send these gloves in for a third-party inspection at least once every 6 months. So if you look at the glove, you'll see a date stamped on the glove, and that date is the last time they were tested. So we need to be a little more on top of getting these gloves in for their examination. Arc flash is another very dangerous condition. When we get current passing through the hot conductor to the ground, we can have temperatures reaching 35,000 degrees. That's 3 times the surface temperature of the sun. So the photosphere, the surface of the sun, may only be about 10,000 degrees. Of course, when you go deeper into the sun, you're over 27 million degrees where the fusion is happening. But this arc flash, we got maybe chunks of metal flying around, everything else. It could cause skin burns. It could ignite clothing. Now, clothing and PPE that burns and melts is a real problem. Think about that safety strap maybe you're tied up to when you're on a ladder. Again, it's very easy for that material to be melted. Now, in an arc flash situation, we have the very high temperatures, we have molten metal flying around, pressure waves, sound waves, hot air, rapid expansion. That's kind of like the thunder of the sound waves. Intense light, which could spook you. Hope you're belted off really good. And the copper vapor expands about 67,000 times. So if there is a major short circuit, the arc flash happens, and it could be very damaging. Okay, if anybody has any questions, feel free to get hold of me, and I'll do my best to get you an answer and get you pointed in the right direction for the correct answer. All right, everybody stay safe.